What is happening? I am sitting down recording my first podcast episode. So I guess this is really happening. Welcome to Let's Blab with Hailey. We're going to go over a few things, kind of like where I'm at, my setup, my reasoning behind it, what I'm expecting with this podcast, and then we're going to dive into today's topic, which is the birth story of my firstborn, Creed Thomas. So first things first, I am in our basement. This is hopefully not my long-term setup with my podcast. It's not the most ideal, I guess. It definitely works. But here's the thing. Right now, Capri is napping. And that's probably when I'm going to be able to record my episodes right now, is during nap time. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. When Creed is at preschool and Capri is napping. It's like the hour that I get that is no children, uninterrupted. And so I'm just being realistic, right? And so this setup, when I put her to nap, like I got the monitor right here and I can come down and record quick. I ideally will have my podcast studio or setup in my photography studio that I'm renovating right now because it's super cute in there. And it would be a great place to record a podcast. But then if I do that, I'm either going to have to go in the evenings, which is when I want to be with my family, or on the weekends, and it's just busy. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just set it up in the house when I can do it when Capri's napping. So this is the most ideal place in our house. So yeah, and then as far as my podcast, so first of all, let's talk about the title. Some of you hate it, some of you love it. I talked about it on my Instagram when I was saying I really want to start a podcast. I think I'm going to start one. And jokingly, I just threw out a title of Let's Blab with Hailey, not taking it seriously at all, not thinking that was going to be the title of my podcast. I just was throwing an example of a title out because I wanted to look at a Canva template for my podcast picture or whatever. So I just threw up Let's Blab with Hailey. And then when it got serious and I was starting to lock in a true title, I was putting Chats with Hailey or Let's Chat with Hailey, things like that. And I asked you guys on Instagram to vote, and a lot of you actually were disappointed that I wasn't using Let's Blab with Hailey because you were like, it's unique. It's you. Why not use that? And I was like, actually, you're right. Some people were like, what's blab? What is the word blab? I don't get it. And I don't know, it's in my vocabulary. So, and here's the thing. I always knew when I did a podcast, I didn't want it to be a category. I don't want it to be just health and fitness. I don't want it to just be mom life. I don't want it to just be deep conversations. I want it to be over anything and everything. And I also think of the ideal person that I want. I had a lady message me on Instagram and she was like, I can just envision it. I'm cleaning my house and I have your podcast on and I'm just listening to you as a friend while I'm cleaning my house and we're just blabbing. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want. That is what I envision. I just want you listening to me, cleaning your house or just we're having a conversation as friends, right? And so that's what this is going to be. Totally random topics. Over the past year and a half, I've had this idea of doing a podcast for over a year. And so when I would think of something I would want to talk about on my future podcast, when I eventually did it, I would write in the notes in my phone topics that I would think of. A random day, I'd be like, oh, I could talk about this on my podcast when I do it one day. And so I would just write it down. So I have a category or a list of topics that we need to start tackling that I put in there over the past year. And that's exactly what it's going to be. And so with that being said, I was listening to a podcast one day on a walk with my kids, and it was a lady telling her birth story. And I loved it. I don't know why. I don't know this woman. I was so intrigued and I loved listening to her birth story. And I was like, okay, if I loved listening to it, then I'll tell my birth stories on my podcast and maybe someone else will love listening to it. So that's what we're doing today. So let's jump into it, shall we? Let's talk about the birth of my firstborn baby boy, Creed Thomas. First things first, can we just talk about how mentally exhausting the last 4 weeks of being pregnant are, especially as a first-time mom? Because and I'm speaking from my experience, as a first-time mom, they tell you like the baby, once you hit 36 weeks, you're full term. So in your mind, you're thinking this baby could come at any time and you don't schedule nothing. You don't let your husband go anywhere. You're thinking my water is going to break anytime. So another day goes by and another day goes by and you're watching the clock and you're sitting on your couch and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And you're thinking it's going to be today. It's going to be today. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not getting myself into any projects because it's going to be today. And your hospital bag has been packed for weeks, months. You're just so excited, right? Like in reality, we're first-time moms. We just cannot wait to experience it all, right? And so it was the longest 4 weeks of my entire life. So with baby number 2, I learned and I was like, no, we are thinking that we're going to 40 weeks. We are going to tell ourselves it's not coming any earlier. So we're going to stay busy and we're going to do all the things that make time go fast instead of sit down and watch paint dry and twiddle our thumbs thinking this baby's coming at any time at 36 weeks. So anyway, with Creed, that was a big wake up call for me. It was like and also like at 36 weeks in the last 4 weeks of pregnancy, like your body is tired, you're uncomfortable, you're just ready. You're ready, right? And so anyway, I remember the last like 2 weeks. So I was like 37 weeks-ish. Anytime Creed would move, I would have like a knife in my belly. And I remember being a first-time mom thinking like, this is probably just normal, like not making a big deal of it. And I remember telling my mom, like, I was just crying one time because it hurt so bad every time he moved. And I'm like, it feels like he is grabbing the umbilical cord and he's just yanking on it. And she's like, ooh, make sure you tell your doctor that. And so I would go to my appointment, went to like my 36-week appointment. And I would tell him like, it's just really, I feel like it's a sharp, sharp pain. And he's like, okay. He's like, it's probably just because like, he's so big and doesn't have enough room and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably what I thought. So anyway, I mean, I'm serious. Like I would cry sometimes. It hurts so bad. And so anyway, it was the day before my 39-week appointment. It was a Tuesday. And I remember telling Tyson, I'm like, we go in tomorrow for my 39-week appointment. And I didn't want to be induced. I wanted my water to break. I wanted it to all be natural. But at this point, like it hurt so bad. I couldn't do it anymore physically. And so I remember telling Tyson, I'm like, do you care if tomorrow when we go in, if he like checks me and I'm still only at a 4, like, can I ask about being induced? And he's like, whatever, I'm here and whatever you decide. He's like, yes, like I'm fine with that. So we have an appointment that next day, right? It's a Tuesday. Appointment's on Wednesday. I'll be 39 weeks. So I go to bed that night, felt totally normal, didn't feel anything different. I go to bed and I wake up and I couldn't sleep. I think it was like 11 o'clock. So I go out to our couch and I lay down on the couch. Thought maybe like switching spots would help me sleep. And I fall asleep on the couch for a little bit. And I remember waking up and it was midnight. And I had like a stomach cramp, but it was a cramp that I had never felt before. And I was just like, it like woke me up. It actually woke me up. And I was like, oh, that's different. And so then, I resituate and stuff. And all of a sudden I feel it again. Didn't think anything of it. And all of a sudden 5 minutes goes by and I'm like, wait, this is like, because it was higher. It was like higher in my belly. And usually, like, any pain that I ever had was more like lower. And I was like, wait, I'm starting to put two and two together. Because, like, as a first time mom, you have no idea what a contraction feels like, right? Like, they tell you what they could feel like. But I'm like, this can't be a contraction, because I've always been told contractions are terrible. And this is not a terrible, like, it was like a level 3 on a pain scale. And so I'm like, this can't be a contraction. And so but then I'm like starting to put two and two together, and I'm like, they're consistent. Maybe this is a contraction. So I downloaded this app. I heard, I got told to download this app by a mom that I followed, and it was the contraction timer. And she was like, when you feel like you are having contractions, you click start when it starts. And then when it stops, you click the stop button. And then you wait. And when you have another one, you click start and you record them. And it will tell you how long they are and how consistent they are. And then when it reads so many of them, it will tell you, like, okay, you can start packing your bags and getting ready, but you don't quite have to head into the hospital. Or it'll tell you, like, head to the hospital right now. And I was like, okay, I need that. So I downloaded that. And I remembered that I had that on my phone. And so I started timing them and recording them. And they were like 5 minutes apart, lasting like 20-ish seconds. And my app said, like, start packing your bags. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I go in the bedroom and I wake up Tyson and I'm like, babe, I think I'm in labor. And he's like, huh? And I'm like, I think I'm having contractions. I'm like, I'm timing them on my app and it's telling us to get our bags ready. And he's like, okay. So he like hops up, like most men do. And he's like, well, can I take a shower? And I'm like, yeah, like hop in the shower. I'm going to call the hospital. And so he hops in the shower. And mind you, like, I'm not in excruciating pain. I'm just like, okay, I'm just doing what this app is telling me. So I call the hospital. It's like midnight, right? So I call the ER, or like not the ER, but like the birth floor. And I talk to a nurse and I'm like, hi, like, I'm 39 weeks tomorrow. I think I'm having contractions. And they're like, 5 minutes apart, lasting 20-ish, 30-ish seconds. And she was like, okay. And we live 30 minutes from the hospital. And so she said, like, yep, sounds good. Since you're a first time mom, 39 weeks, why don't you, start to head in? We'll be ready for you. And I was like, okay. But honestly, looking back, I'm like, it was kind of nice because I was able to get dressed, get myself. I remember putting a little makeup on, like, I wasn't going in frantic and all that kind of stuff. Like, Tyson was able to shower. We loaded the bags in the car. And so anyway, we get in the car and we start driving. And I literally remember getting on the interstate and I almost told Tyson to turn around because I was like, I don't think this is it. Like, I'm not in excruciating pain. And they almost stopped for a little bit. And I was like, I'm going to feel so dumb if I go in and I'm not in labor. And like, that was like the last thing I wanted. I didn't want to get our hopes up, make it a big deal, and then go in and then be like, you're not in labor. And so I was like, I almost told him that. And I was like, no, we'll just go in. I told him we're coming. So we get 20 minutes down the road, 10 minutes from the hospital, and it was like a light switch turned on. All of a sudden, I was sweating, and they were getting to where I wasn't very comfortable. And the pain had went from like a 3 to a 6 real fast. And I was like, thank God I didn't tell him to turn around. So they're getting like to where I have to breathe through them, things like that. And so we get to the hospital, and it's by that point, I'm like, when I have them, I have to stop walking and just stop and breathe. So we get into the hospital, and I'm like, I'm in labor. I know I'm in labor. Like, this is it. And so we get up there, and they take us to the room, and I get in my gown, and they check me, and I'm at a 5. And I'm like, a 5? Okay. And so she's like, what we do is you're going to walk the halls, you're going to bounce on the ball, and we will check you in, an hour and see where you're at. And if you've progressed, then we'll start hooking you up and get things going and admit you and everything like that. Call your doctor. But if you haven't progressed, then you'll probably just go home. And I remember thinking, I'm like, lady, if you think I'm going home, you're absolutely insane. Like, I am not going home. But I didn't tell her that. I was just like, we'll deal that when she tells me I have to go home, we'll have that conversation. So I start bouncing on the ball, walking the halls. This is where my lovely husband in the recliner tells me he doesn't feel good. I'm not making this up, you guys. I'm really not making this up. And I just remember I'm like, this actually happens. This isn't just a funny reel on Instagram. This is real life where my husband just told me that he doesn't feel good and I'm in labor. He's still alive to this day. So I'd just like to throw that out there. Bravo to me. Anyway, moving on. So I keep bouncing on the ball. I keep walking the halls, and they are intense, you guys. They are intense. I'm uncomfortable. I'm stopping to breathe through them. I'm on a level of 9 in pain, and they're consistent. They're about 3 minutes apart. And so an hour passes, and she comes in, and she checks me, and she goes, "You're at a 6." And I was like, thank the Lord. Although I was hoping I was at a 9 at that point. And I'm like, thank the Lord. So she hooks me up to an IV. Let's talk about that IV. Oh, my Lanta. That was worse than birth. No one talks about that hand IV. It was terrible. Anyway, so she hooks me up, calls my doctor, lets him know. And at this point, so I went into my birth saying I'm not against the epidural, but I want to see how far I can go. If I can go through the whole thing without an epidural, awesome. But if I feel like I need it, I'm not afraid to get it. And so I just went in and they're like, "What's your birth plan?" I'm like, "To come out alive with a baby alive." Like, that's my birth plan. Like, I didn't want a birth plan. I don't think you can really have a birth plan because stuff can change so fast. And then to me, if you have a birth plan and then things go off track, like, then that almost messes with your mind more. I think it's crazy to have like a plan at your birth. I mean, obviously little things like what you want and what you don't want is good, but I'm just like, honestly, my birth plan is we're going to take it minute by minute and that's what it's going to be. And so, anyway, I tried. I wasn't progressing. I kept bouncing. I kept walking. And so then she's like, lay on the bed and I'm going to put a peanut ball, I think is what they call them, between your legs. So I laid on my side. It's like a pillow shaped like a peanut and it goes between your knees. And that thing was magical. My baby liked that. My body liked that because I was progressing way faster with that thing in. It was almost like moving stopped me a little bit, which is so opposite of what you hear. So anyway, at this point, I'm like, I think I've got to do the epidural. I've been laboring now. I think it's like, I'm trying to think of the time. I think it was like 7 a.m. So 7 hours from when my contractions had started. And I was getting really, really tired. And so, I mean, I just think back to the women who don't get epidurals and I'm like, wow. But I also am a big believer that we all experience different pains, right? Like my pain was so different with Capri than it was Creed, like my contraction pain, not even close to the same. And, like I know moms who literally are like, I was not in that much pain and my baby slipped out before I made it, like in the parking lot. And I'm just like, I think it's just totally dependent on the baby, the position, your body, everything like that. So anyway, I was just like, and I remember them saying like, at some point, sometimes you can ask for the epidural and it'll be too late, or you can get it and then it like doesn't last, and like all these different situations. So I told her, or like you can ask for it and sometimes it'll take an hour for them to actually get to your room and put it in. And so I had that in my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted already. I'm in so much pain. I was just like, it was getting to the point where I was crying, I was shaking, and I'm just like, what if it would take them another hour from now to get here with the epidural? So that's when I was like, I'm going to ask for it. So I asked her, I'm like, can I get the epidural? And she was like, yep, we'll call them up. So it took them probably 45 minutes, I would say, half hour to 45 minutes, I think, to get there with the epidural from when I ordered it. So I get on the table, I hug the pillow, hunch my back, and all of a sudden the doctor pulls out the needle and Tyson turns white. And the doctor goes, I think I'm going to have you step out, sir. And he's like, okay. So Tyson leaves. And Tyson doesn't do good in hospitals. He gets I was kind of making fun of him for being sick, but I've learned after our several hospital visits that Tyson he does get nauseous and sick and lightheaded because it's like a nervous system thing. And so he just really struggles. And so obviously, like, I can't imagine seeing someone you love in pain like that. And so he stepped out, and the epidural was easy, breezy, beautiful for me the first time. We'll find out a different time in Capri's story. It's a whole different experience. But with Creed, it was beautiful. The doctor was like, you did absolutely incredible. He was like, that was perfect. You didn't move an inch. I was like, that was fine. I didn't feel it. It was great. So I lay down and oh my gosh, it is like heaven. I was like, wow. Like, I was just finally having some relief. And I'm like, I think I might take a little snooze. I might be able to take a little snooze. So I kind of closed my eyes for a little bit. I'm laying there watching TV. And it is like, I think, noon by this point. 4 more hours had gone by. And I'm like, I think I feel different down there. And so she comes in and she checks me and she's like, you're ready to go. And I was like, what? And Tyson jumps up from the chair and she's like, you're ready. You're 10. Oh no, I forgot this part. When I got the epidural, they came in and broke my water because they felt like that was kind of like stopping me. They broke my water. I think it was like 8 a.m. Got my epidural and then let me sit with the peanut ball. And so I sat there, laid there for 4 hours, and I was like, okay, I think I'm feeling something different down there, like pressure. So they check me and they're like, you're at a 10. So the epidural and water breaking was the answer for me and that peanut ball. So anyway, it's go time. And I can't feel nothing down there. I can't feel nothing. My epidural though, like right at my hip bone on my right side, it wasn't working right there. So every time I had a contraction, it was like a tiny period cramp. And let me tell you something, it was almost perfect because I could tell when I was having a contraction, but it wasn't excruciating pain. And so I could feel, I could kind of feel when I was having contractions, which helped a lot. When you're pushing, you can kind of tell when you're having that contraction versus them telling you. And so, yeah, we started pushing, and they didn't want me to have like a video going, but I turned on my video on my camera and laid it by my head. So we just had sound of the birth. And so I start pushing. I just like tried thinking of stuff that you hear to do. Pretend like you're pooping, things like that, breathing through it. They were so good at like coaching me through it. The nurses, the doctors, everything like that. And I pushed probably 8 times, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, the head comes out, and mind you, the doctor that I had the whole time, he was gone. Glorious. As a first-time mom, that freaks you out. Like, you become so close with this doctor and you want them there, and all of a sudden they come in and they're like, your doctor's not here, but the on-call doctor will be delivering your baby. And you're like, you panic. So anyway, this on-call doctor was phenomenal. He was great. He's, coaching me through it. And all of a sudden, Creed's head comes out and he tells me, he goes, stop, stop, stop. Stop pushing. Don't move. He goes, cord around the neck. And so this is like giving me flashbacks. Cord around the neck. So he grabs on his little tray. He has a pair of scissors and I can see Creed. I can see his neck. I can see the cord around his neck. And Tyson I look up at Tyson and he is wide-eyed panic. So he grabs the scissors and he goes like this to the cord, right? Tyson and I thought he was trying to cut the cord, okay? To get it off of his neck. He goes like this and the scissors kind of fold like a dull scissors does. Tyson and I think that his scissors are too dull to cut the cord. Looking back, we laugh at this. Tyson goes to like help him cut the cord because he thinks that he's struggling. He grabs another clamp. It's a clamp, not him trying to cut this. They look like scissors. They're dull. And he clamps the other side of the cord. And then I think he could cut like between the clamps. I'm not quite sure. He clamped the cord or something like that. And then we saw him get the cord off of Creed's neck. And then I push him out and they put Creed on top of me. Mind you, I missed a very important part here. We did not know the sex of our baby. We went our whole pregnancy. We didn't find out gender. We didn't want to, neither one of us. So this is where it's supposed to be very magical for us, right? Like, what's the sex? Do we have a boy or a girl? And they put Creed on me and he's not making any noises. We're already traumatized by that little incident of seeing the cord around his neck. You know how like doctors and nurses, you can tell when they're playing it cool. Like they're not panicking, but deep down, their hearts are racing. That was happening, okay? So they get Creed on me and they're like doing the aggressive rubbing, and he's not making any noises. And I have this recording, okay? We go back and listen to this the day after. He went 30 seconds without breathing. Do you know how long that 30 seconds felt like? In the clip, you can hear me panicking. You can hear me saying, come on, baby. And I'm crying. I'm going to start crying. Oh, God. You can hear me saying, and I'm patting my baby, and I'm going, come on, baby. Come on, baby. And I remember looking at Tyson and thinking, I'm going to lose my child on top of me. And I went through all of this, and we're going to lose him. But then in the same breath, I'm thinking, wouldn't they take him? Like I was just waiting for them to grab him and run off with him. And the nurses are still, come on, come on. And they're sucking stuff out of his throat. And he's blue and he's limp. And I just keep saying, come on, baby, breathe, baby, cry, baby. And I'm patting. And Tyson's crying, not out of joy. He's crying out of fear. I'm crying. And all of a sudden he cries. And I scream. Like it wasn't a scream. It was like a, oh, and I just cry. I bust out bawling thinking, oh my God, like you want to hear a cry, but when I heard that cry, oh my God, you guys. So at this point, the nurses are like, oh yeah, there's baby. And he's crying and he's starting to cry. And I'm like, thank you, Lord. So then all of a sudden, one of the nurses go, what do we got? As in like, do we got a boy or a girl? And I heard a back nurse in the back of the room go, it's a boy. And I didn't comprehend this. And all of a sudden, 3 more minutes later, and they're like, it's a boy. And I'm like, oh, it's a boy. Like it was the last thing on my mind at that point. And then all of a sudden we're celebrating like, oh my gosh, we have a boy, we have a son, which I will be honest, from the moment I got pregnant with him, I felt like I had a son in me. And I remember telling my mom like 2 weeks before I went into labor, I'm like, Mom, I'm scared that if I have a girl, I'm not going to feel connected to it because I feel like I have a son in me. Like I feel like like I have a mother-son instinct already. And I just can't envision a girl. And I don't know, I'm such a visual person that I'm just like, I'm trying to comprehend if it comes out a girl and I just can't. And she's like, honey, like, don't stress about that. Like, it'll be great. And so when he came out and, like I find out it's a boy and people would say like, you knew it was a boy. And I'm like, I didn't for sure. Like I didn't have proof of that, but my heart almost knew it was a boy. Like my motherly instinct knew it was a boy. But having that confirmation, it was great. And yeah, so then we had one name only. It was going to be Creed Thomas, no matter what he came out looking like. And yeah, our baby boy was here, Creed Thomas. He was born 7 pounds, 4 ounces at, I believe it was like 12. I'm so bad, you guys. I should probably know this, but I think it was like 12:40 or 1:10 p.m., somewhere around there. 1:40? I'm not quite sure. I have it written down, but I probably should have looked at that before this podcast. But yeah. Anyway, I think so. A few things. So we go back like to the recovery room. I had a very good outcome down below, if you know what I mean. I had like a inside tear was all. Only needed like 2 internal stitches. So my healing, like it was sore. I won't get into that, okay? I won't get into that. But yeah, I think that time in the hospital when it's you and your husband and your new baby, to me is magical. Those were one of my favorite days of my entire life. Being in that hospital room post-birth, the nurses are helping you, you're learning it all. People are messaging you, congratulations, you're getting to announce everything. It's just, even with our second, like those days in the hospital of just us two and the baby is just incredible. And especially with baby, like our first, I just loved watching Tyson take on dad mode. He was so, you could tell he was nervous, like obviously it's his first child. Men with newborns, I feel like automatic, like, mothers, I don't know, it's more natural for us, but he was so good. He was changing diapers right away. He was great. And I loved seeing it. I remember they came in. So we had him like, early afternoon on a Wednesday, and they came in the following day. So 24 hours later, and they said like, technically you can go home. Like you can be discharged. Do you want to go home or do you want to wait another day? And the second day, no one talks about this. No, I had not heard anyone talk about this. Sorry, I gotta adjust. But the second day, like the day after giving birth, I woke up and I felt like a train had hit me and run me over on the tracks 5 times. My body hurts, so, like my back, and obviously it's from your body having contractions, like your muscles. And I was so sore, like my body hurt so bad. And I remember telling Tyson, I'm like, can we please stay another day? Like I hurt so bad. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Like obviously he was ready to go home. He slept in a recliner, but I was just like, I think for me, we need to stay another day. And, again, with our like first, and so we stayed another day. Our hospital had a jacuzzi. I shouldn't say jacuzzi. It was like a jet tub. And I remember someone telling me from like this area who had a baby at that hospital, they're like, if your doctors allow it, ask them if you can sit in the jet tub because it is magical. And so I asked if I could do that. They said yes. I know that's very controversial. I talked about that on my Instagram one time, and so many people were like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be in water 6 weeks or until 6 weeks after. I don't know, but my doctors both times let me sit in the jacuzzi tub. It was great. It felt amazing. So I took a bath. I sat in like the soaking tub. I snuggled my baby and the nurses helped me. We even had them, like, our hospital is so great. They would ask, they're like in the middle of the night, they're like, do you want us to take him to the nursery so you can get some sleep? And I was like, yeah, I do actually. Um it was I honestly recommend that. I know a lot of people don't want that. Like they don't want their baby out of their sight, but we had them take him for I think 4 hours in the middle of the night, and then they would come in when he would cry and want to eat, and then I'd wake up and feed him, and then they would take him back and then bring him back in, and then we'd have him all day, But that was great too. We got a little bit of rest. My body healed, and then so we technically stayed an extra day, but also I just feel like I don't know, I think it's crazy to go home 24 hours after giving birth. Some moms are like, I couldn't wait to get out of the hospital. Like I was counting down the days. I would have went home the second I pooped it out. I'm the opposite. I actually enjoyed laying in the recovery and snuggling my baby with my husband, but also bringing your baby home is great. So anywho, I think that's all I got. I'm excited to share Capri's story. It's alike but different. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to my birth story. I don't know, I enjoyed listening to other people's, and it's so crazy how every single birth story is different. Like so different. And so yeah, it's just fun to hear, how different they are. And it's also just incredible at what like that a woman can grow a life. Like when you actually stop and think about that. I don't think it just happens so often and it's so normal for us. But when you stop and think about it, like deep thoughts about it, it's like, wow, like that is insane. And sometimes like my kids will be running around and I'm like, I made them. Like I made them. Like my body made them. It's so crazy. I grew that. Anyway, and it just gives you a whole new appreciation for your body too. Whole new appreciation. I'll never forget looking in the mirror after I gave birth and I was just like, wow. Like so proud. Like everything was so jiggly and just it's almost like a foreign body to you because you've never seen it like that before. Like you went from having this big hard pregnant belly to now it's just like, jiggly, but I just remember being so proud of my body, and in awe of it and embracing it. Like I didn't know how hard it would be for me to look at my body post birth, but I didn't have, like negative thoughts, which I think is normal too. Not negative, but just like hard, hard thoughts of what is this body? Because again, it's foreign, but I just remember being so proud. And you just don't care. You're holding your newborn baby with your big boobs and your diaper on, your tummy hanging out, and you just don't care. You don't care. And you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care at all. Because you just gave life. And there's nothing better than that newborn baby laying on your chest. And there's nothing better than those first breastfeeding moments, even though it's so hard and you've never done it before. It's so like the first time Creed latched, I was just like, oh my God. Wow. Like, it's something until you experience it. And I know like some people it just didn't work out. But for me, for my experience, it did. And it's something that you can't really like until you experience it. You're like, wow. It's a bond, definitely a bond thing, I feel like. Anyway, there's that. Now he's 4 and he's like a teenager. And I constantly like look at videos of him when he was a baby and when he was 2, walking around and could barely say words, and now he's like a full-grown kid. But it's also so fun now. He's like my best friend. And now we can carry on like real conversations, and it's hilarious, and he's like just the best big brother, and he's funny. He's so funny. He's so sweet and so kind and smart. Okay, I'll stop. All right. Thanks for listening to my first episode, and we'll be back with more. Bye, guys.